I'll talk a little bit now about the FRC's Technology and Digital Steering Group. Really our aim there is to try to build on a reputation we've tried to develop of being an innovative regulator. So it's something we even have in our core objectives. Thinking about identifying opportunities for where technology is going to lead to quality improvements, making sure that all links together. And it's a word that can be a little bit sort of dirty in an academic context, but a kind of holistic approach, if you will, which is to think about how all of the bits in the ecosystem that is audit and assurance, financial reporting, all fits together. How does that work? How can we make sure what we're doing supports that and is sensible? Thank you. So this is just an example of something that we've been doing internally. So one of the things that we have done is we've developed a technology and digital hub, which is an internal resource. We are working on an external version of it. Essentially what it is it's a way of us recognizing as a regulator that we also have to skill up. If we're expecting people to be able to understand the tools that they're using on a day-to-day basis, we should do the same. So we've really tried to think about putting together a knowledge hub, which has got all kinds of learnings on for people to help people at the FRC if they are setting a standard, if they're doing a file inspection, if they're doing an enforcement case. Where can I go to understand the tool? So that if I am doing an inspection, let's say, and an audit firm has used some kind of tool that I don't quite understand, that I'm not as an inspector going straight away, well, there's a problem there, the audit firm shouldn't have used it. If the inspector themselves doesn't understand the tool, the first question should be, well, before I kind of think about whether that's a good or a bad thing that the audit firm's done that, surely I need to understand the tool myself. So really try to focus on learning and thinking about it. And for example, myself, doing a lot of data analytics stuff, I went back to university to learn how Python works, which was challenging. Trying to force new information into my old brain was difficult, but important, because if I'm going to stand up here and talk about how I think data analytics should be used, I should probably have some understanding of how it's actually used. The other thing that we did is to think about what our priorities are then. So what are our big areas that we should focus on as an audit and assurance regulator? So we came up really with 4 big areas. The first is digital reporting. So that would include things like XBRL, use of distributed ledger technology to store information digitally and report it digitally, be that reporting it in annual reports, be that submitting it to regulatory authorities. We are Companies House we have in the UK that collects all the data there. So our first one was on digital reporting. The second was on data analytics, and I probably don't need to tell anybody in this room that data analytics is a big area in audit, and it has been for quite a while now. But there are still problems, there are still issues, big one being data quality, but there are other issues around understanding and whether or not people are really making best use of those data analytics tools, or if there's still a little bit of a reticence to really embrace the potential power there. The other one is on professional ethics, which being an IASBA technology experts group member is obviously personal to me. We've touched a little bit on that professional competence and due care concept for the profession. The final one is machine learning used by auditors. We've been doing a lot of work on the potential for machine learning, particularly in risk assessment. And there is, we think, a huge potential quality benefit. It is not without its pitfalls, hence why it takes a long time to think about how these kind of things works. Should we be using black box tools? Should we be using things that are more intrinsically interpretable? How do we visualize outputs from machine learning risk assessment tools in a way that someone who isn't an expert can use it? Because we're thinking about professional competence and due care, but it's not a realistic expectation for me as a regulator to say every single person signing up an audit in the UK should be able to tell me exactly how this machine learning algorithm has learned and identified risk. So how do we deal with that as a regulator? How do we come to a position where we are okay with people using these tools? Very quick answer, because I've realized I've been waffling on forever, there's only got 15 minutes left, is governance. But I'll go into that in more detail if anybody wants to afterwards. So we think governance that's really going to help with that machine learning process.